a little late. I went outside for a smoke, and they wouldn't let me back in because they said you're at capacity. So I told them.
You think it was cold?
I couldn't get off.
Well, it sounds like your biggest fans in the front row.
Oh, I thought it was my ex-wife.
Oh, how you doing?
I'm very good. I'm very much enjoying Newcastle. Yeah.
Newcastle.
That's what I said, Newcastle.
Oh, it's the way you pronounce it up here, I'm afraid.
So,
It's Newcastle.
Newcastle.
Yeah, pretty much.
Newcastle.
That's what I get
You gotta
told
say
anyway.
angry? Newcastle.
Is that your first time in Newcastle?
It is, yes.
He was moaning about the weather last week in Cardiff. They had like 3 different layers on. Has anybody got any questions at all? You want to fire right at us? Oh, wait, oh, the ladies, why am I not surprised? Let's pass the mic along to you. Oh, ladies on the back. Oh, there's a gentleman on the back. Wait, hey!
Hi.
Hi.
I have asked this question both of Amanda and Michael, so I'm going to ask the same question.
So I get the same question that you've asked.
Yeah, but I want to, because we're seeing, because Michael heard it and went, what did tapping say? And then tried to beat it, so I want to see if he beat it. I fairly recently took up sword fighting as a hobby. Now, people think this is weird because I'm a tiny little girl. So
wait, did you say because you're kind of into girls?
no, because I'm a tiny girl. I'm very, very, very short.
Oh,
and they think the idea of me fighting.
Girl.
I'm a tiny little girl. Yes.
Ooh, I'm gonna have fun with this accent.
Yeah. And so I asked Amanda what was the weirdest thing she'd ever learned to do, and she said, run and change the mag in a P90, which is on Stargate. I asked Michael, and he said for a TV series, he had to learn to be a blacksmith, and then got really annoyed because they cut the scene. So what is the weirdest thing you have ever had to learn to do for an acting role?
Wow. It wasn't so much what I had to learn. I did this movie that was originally called In the Age of the Hobbit, and then for some reason Peter Jackson got mad and sued us. He's so sensitive. But it was changed to, I think, Clash of the Empires. So we actually shot in Cambodia. And if you're not in Phnom Penh, it's still like the 70s in Cambodia. And they're lovely people, but I think the thing I had to do was get used to their customs. Because if I sat down, and like everyone that we worked with were little people, so you couldn't really tell who were kids and who were adults and who, but the one thing they all had in common, if you sat down, or if I sat down, they would just come sit in my lap. Like anybody. Because like that was a strange amount of warmth you were producing. I'm not sure if that's healthy. Maybe you should
the advantages of being my size, I think.
So that was probably the hardest thing to get used to, was that you couldn't sit, otherwise there would be literally be 6, 7 people sitting on your lap. And they're very loving. It's just their way of, letting you know that they're comfortable with you and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of the biggest adjustment I had to make. That, and pretty much anywhere in an open field is a bathroom. For anybody. At any time.
Sharing.
Thank you.
Since Stargate Atlantis, since Stargate SG-1, there's been a lot more obviously sci-fi programs. If you had the chance, if you could choose any character or any program, what would you prefer to go and do, or have you got a particular favourite?
I think I'd be Daenerys. Either Daenerys or Sheldon.
Bazinga.
Yeah, I think those would be, I mean, let's face it, does it get any better than giving birth to dragons? Winter's coming. Okay.
Where's the next guy? Oh, right up the back there.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm a big fan of Stargate. Have you ever had to use
I
your
figured
character?
that because you're here.
You know your character Teal'c, who's
No, I don't.
says
No, I don't.
indeed.
Nope.
Have you ever had to use the word indeed, like seductively? And if you haven't, could you do it for me, please?
Only if you come sit on my lap.
You never said that to me last night.
Indeed, I didn't. Well, when you say have I ever used it, do you mean in my personal life? Is that what you mean, or or on the set?
Either or.
Not really in my personal life too much. I would like to think if I had to say indeed in my personal life, probably the deed was already done. I think a few times on the show though. I think in Birthright, I think I did it once. But I said indeed, seductively, I think. In Changeling, I think I said it once, seductively. And I think that might be it. You want me to say indeed seductively to you?
Yes, please.
It's your first time in Newcastle, Bruce.
Wow. Indeed.
Are you going to come back to Newcastle now? Oh, what's more? Oh, guy with the funny hats.
Funny hat.
You got the mic now, you got to say something.
Out of obviously Stargate, Atlantis, and SG-1, what did you enjoy? Which series did you enjoy doing the most?
Well, I did 212 episodes of SG-1. I did 2 of Atlantis. So of course my answer would be Universe. Everyone knows that's not true. No, I mean, SG-1 has probably been just the favorite set I've ever been on of anything I've ever done. That's because we were so committed to having fun. You know, we wanted to make good entertainment, but we always realized that we were just making entertainment. You know, we weren't making, and not to say that I don't understand what entertainment means in people's lives, but we weren't curing cancer. We weren't, you know what I mean? So we never got to the point where we just took ourselves so seriously that it wasn't fun. And there are sets that I've been on that you would think that they have solved cold fusion. Really, it's that serious and it's that quiet and it's that tense. And I really find it really impossible to work that way. So I think SG-1 is probably my favorite set that I've ever been on. The coolest set I've ever been on was, the coolest day ever in my life as an actor is when Bale, I did Dark Knight Rises, and when Bale walked on the set with the suit on, I turned into an 11-year-old girl. I literally couldn't move. I was standing there, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt was standing next to me. And Bale walked on, and I just kind of started shaking. And I looked at Joe, and I was like, he's like, Chris, I know. I did the same thing the first time I saw him in the suit. So yeah, that was probably the coolest thing I've ever done. Thank you.
A little interesting fact I just picked up on the internet, so obviously it's true. This man has appeared in the most episodes of Stargate SG-1, even more than Richard Dean Anderson, so I think that deserves a hearty round of applause.
The sad part is Rick made 3 times as much as I did. So.
Hey, where's the next question come from? Oh, right in the middle there.
Hi.
Hello.
I was just wondering what your favourite...
Thank you. Excuse you.
I was just wondering what your most favourite Stargate episode was.
My favorite Stargate episode was to watch or to do.
To do.
My favorite Stargate episode to do was the 200. Because we basically did 4 episodes within the same time period that we do 1 episode, and so all the departments that we had to do 4 shows in the same time that they would usually do 1 show. So they worked around the clock. They literally worked 24/7 to get ready for it. And in the 10 years that we did the show, there were a lot of our crew that had never been on set. Like, there were a lot of our wardrobe people that had never been on set. There were like our accountants that had never been on set. There were model makers and stuff that had never been on set. There were CGI guys who had never been on set. So the week that we did the 200, everybody from every single department stopped by, and we took the time to like thank each other and hug each other and just let each other know how much we appreciate everything that each other had done. And it was just like a week of joy and happiness. And on a personal note, the greatest thing about Stargate to me is the villains. Like, the villains are like all cool and like, you know, some are campy, some are not, but the thing that they all have in common is what? They all have cod pieces. So I had been on our wardrobe designer for 10 years to wear a cod piece. It's just like, but Chris, you're wearing the SG-1 uniform. Why would you wear a cod piece? I'm like, I don't know, I just want a cod piece. So if you watch the 200th episode, every single outfit I have on in the 200th episode has a huge cod piece. I mean, ridiculously huge. And let me say, some of them were still kind of tight. You guys are so dirty, I like you guys. But yeah, it was truly the 200.
Got a question right in front there.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
What was your favourite Teal'c moment? And since we were just talking about villains, who do you think is the most badass villain in SG-1?
Probably one of my favorite moments as Teal'c was the Teal'c PI part of the 200. We had so much fun doing that. It was just like a day of silliness, just absolute ridiculousness. And I mean, there's a lot of, I think I talk about this a lot. Keep it down! There's a sound guy whose ears are bleeding right now. What if I just walked over there and just asked him to be quiet? I forgot. Oh, Window of Opportunity was another one of those episodes. It was kind of one of the episodes that really first kind of bonded Rick and I. And Rick had never been to my trailer. We had never. But when this episode came out, where are you going? What, am I boring you? Where are you going? Wait, where are you going? What? Am I boring? Am I boring? Is that it? Bathroom? Are you going to the bathroom? Are you going? Number 1 or number 2?
You've got my seats now quite around.
So one of the things, so every minute Rick was coming back, hey, can you juggle? Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do that? So that whole thing with him doing the clay, have you guys ever seen Ghost? So that was, we kind of were going to do that clay thing. So it would start off, this is how we had planned it, and we went to the writers and said, we want to do the ghost montage. And they were like, okay, like, well, describe it. I said, well, the first thing, you know, Teal'c sees O'Neill making the pottery, and he doesn't quite get it. Then O'Neill is demonstrating, you know, how to mix the clay, how to form the clay. Then the next time you cut, you know, the next loop you go through, Teal'c has made his own thing, and you know, they're admiring it. Then there's another cut, and then Teal'c and O'Neill are shirtless with clay all over them. And for some reason, MGM didn't go for that. I don't know why they didn't go for that. But it was always kind of stuff like that were my favorite moments. The stuff that, and especially playing Teal'c, I had a lot more creative. I had a lot more creative input in my character. I had not creative input, but a lot more leeway, because when they would write episodes, they wouldn't. It got tedious for them to write how Teal'c speaks, so they would just write the lines and just say them however Teal'c would say them. You know, that's how a lot of the jargon in the show came about, the alien jargon. They would just throw letters together and just say whatever, like the Newcastle, the Zats. When they first were written down as what they were, it was literally a word that was a page and a half long. So I went up to Jonathan Glasner's office and I said, how do you pronounce this? Like, he's like, I don't know, you're the alien. Okay. And that's how it became Zat Newcastle. And the original word is like literally another 17 syllables. So Zat Newcastle was the shortened version of it, but then Rick couldn't say Zat Newcastle, so we shortened it to Zats. So that's kind of how it came about. I have no idea if I answered your question or not.
Next question is from the Rory on the back there.
What was the hardest episode of Stargate to film and why?
Oh, that's a very serious question.
Wow, I know. You've invested a lot in that question, haven't you? The hardest episode, you know, from an emotional standpoint, probably Heroes, because Heroes is the episode that Dr. Fraser and Teal'c died in. So that was a very difficult episode to shoot. The episode that Shanks left the show the first time, that was a difficult episode to shoot. The episode that Donnie was leaving, that was difficult. Pretty much the only time there were really difficult episodes is when it dealt with somebody from the show leaving. Those were the ones that were difficult to do because it was just emotionally difficult. Physically, probably the hardest one physically was either the one where I got bit by the bug and the cocoon formed over me, because they couldn't recreate the cocoon. So I had to lay there in 6-hour stretches. So I had to lay there from the time we went on set till lunch, and then they redid it, and then I had to lay there from after lunch till we wrapped in the same position. So that was kind of difficult. And then there's an episode called Teal'c where literally I just get beat up the entire episode, and the actor playing opposite me was a, you know, there's actors, some actors who really like to stunt fight. It's an art, it's a dance, right? So you never even come close to getting hit. Unless there's like a really serious, unless there's an accident, you never come close to getting hit in a good stunt fight. But then there's some actors who believe that they really have to hit you. I did Italian with a fellow who really thought he had to hit me. So we would be doing his close-up, and he would be choking me. And I was like, I'm not even on camera. And he's like, no, just help keep me in. By choking me? Like, so that's probably the most bruised and beat up that I've gotten. And also, when Ben Browder started on the show, Ben likes to do all his own stunts as much as he can. So what does that mean if you're a man? then you have to do your own stunts. So when Browder came, I mean, it was good though. I mean, he helped reinvigorate the show. But when Browder came, I started doing a lot more stunts again. So those were kind of difficult. But they were good, a good difficult, not a bad difficult.
Down the front there.
Hello there.
Hello there.
I just briefly touched on the questions I want to ask. When you mentioned 200 and Ben coming in the show, I just wanted to ask when Richard left and Ben and Claude you thought came into the show, did that sort of change the camaraderie amongst everybody a lot?
It was just an adjustment. Because Ben and Claudia both, I mean, they would come up with a million ideas on how to, for every scene. And it was good because that sort of energy kind of reinvigorated us also because you know, you get set in patterns. It's like a marriage, right? Says a divorce. No, I mean, I'm married now, obviously. Back to your question. So what it do, and you get into lazy habits. You get into, so when you have a new energy that forces you to kind of reconsider how you're going to do scenes and stuff, it was good, and I think it really injected new life into the show. And then Rick always came back, you know, he always came back every few episodes, so that was always good, you know. And you know, Rick was, you know, he just didn't want to work that much anymore, so it was at exactly the right time, you know, and it was great for us.
Before we go on to the next question, quick show of hands, was anyone down at the show in Cardiff? What? There you go. This is a treat for you because apparently I found out that Chris and RDA have a certain fondness for the art of breaking wind on set, which I found was rather interesting when you were speaking about it.
I mean, have you guys heard about this? Like what a great farting set we had? We
So I'm going to get educated now.
We really took great pride in our ability to break wind. Rick is one of the great farters of our generation. Bet you guys didn't know that. And for a long time, he was kind of my fart mentor. So, but then, as in the life of any young Jedi, he must challenge the master. So I got to the point where I changed my diet so that it would affect not only the tone, but also the bouquet. So every night before I went to bed, I would have a bowl of Fiber One, topped by Benefiber, topped by Slim Fast. As many of you know, any single one of those is plenty. Put those three together, and the results are explosive. So, on a certain particular day, we were shooting in the control room, and I was in particularly good form that day. So good that we had to clear out the control room for 30 minutes. Somebody doesn't like farting. For 30 minutes to let the air clear. So every day, pretty much everything we do is put down in a log, and it's sent down to MGM. Now, MGM loves to send memos about this, that, and the other. So imagine the log for that day was, you know, first shot, 8:10. Set up for second shot, 10:30. Break for 30 minutes while fart dissipates from control room. So obviously some MGM executive read this and his head exploded. Because the next day there was a memo saying that bodily functions that cause unreasonable production delays will no longer be tolerated. And that was circulated among the entire cast and crew. And so what that meant was that now none of the crew could fart, but me and Rick still could. So, but yeah, it was a source of great pleasure for us. But imagine a lot of and it didn't matter who was on set. Your mom could be on set, and someone would walk up to you and fart. I mean, anybody would be on set. It just didn't matter. So for a lot of our guest stars, they found it kind of off-putting because you could be in the middle of a close-up and someone's gonna let one go. I mean, guaranteed. So we took great pride in that.
Where does the next question come from then? Oh, who's got the mic? There you go, lovely.
Hi. We've heard at other conventions about the pranks that you've played on set, and you said earlier that it was a really fun set to be on. I wondered if you could tell us the favourite prank that you played on someone else, and if anyone played one on you that you were particularly impressed by.
I hope you guys don't, I'm sorry, this is my first time here, so I don't know what the parameters are, but a lot of stuff that we did on set had to do with bodily functions. So one of my favorites is a little ditty that we used to call the turd burglar. So, which, you know, it's just what people, when they go to set, they leave the trailers unlocked. So if you just hang back, or if you say, oh, I have to go up to your double, we'll read your off-camera lines. So you go and, there's no little kids in here. You go take a poo in someone else's trailer, and you don't flush it. But a lot of sets do that. Believe it or not, the Friends set talked about this. How much it is. It's a very common game in Hollywood. And I also like to saran wrap toilets because I had the earliest call time. So I would be there before everybody, but everyone's rooms get opened everyone's trailers get opened at the same time. So you take saran wrap and you lift up, but you put the saran wrap in between the secondary seat and the bowl. So when people come in, you know, it's the morning, it's, you know, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, so they're still sleepy. So they just raise a lid to use the bathroom, and boy, they get a splashback. My mother came to one of these in LA where I told that story, and just the look of horror on her face, and just the look of, I didn't raise him right. I don't know why I find such a great pleasure in this stuff, but I do. The worst that they ever got me was during the heyday of our flatulence contests. I had to be strapped to a medical gurney, and I can't remember the episode, but it's when Braytak's holding my face going, choose, choose! Oh, thanks, Stargate fans. But anyway, I was actually strapped down to a hospital bed, and oh, I had it bad that day. So at lunchtime, even I wanted to get up. I wanted to get out of that room. And so what they did was left me there all through lunch, just to wallow in it all by myself. So that was one, and I have this, see, this is weird for me. If you guys saw a bear, wouldn't you be afraid? If there was a bear from this far apart, wouldn't you be afraid? So when we first started the show, I was up golfing, and literally hit a good shot with jumping around, and I jumped into a bear to less than 2 feet from a bear. So I panicked, ran back to my golf cart. The golf cart hit a curb, flipped the golf cart, da-da-da-da-da. So I happened to be playing with two guys from work, two guys from Stargate on the crew. So this gets back, and all of a sudden people are acting like I'm silly because I'm afraid of bears. So that became the big joke. So one time we're shooting up in the forest, and I'm standing outside my trailer, and there's a bunch of people around, and we're all talking, just messing around, and all of a sudden they start going like this. So we're in the forest, so I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? What are you looking at? And they're still like, no, we're just, and then they're all like, so I look. What I didn't know at the time was this was a crew member. They had rented a bear suit. If I had waited around to actually see that it was a dude in a bear suit going raw, but as soon as I saw something pop up, I took off down the road. So they got me pretty good because I'm not even gonna say that. So that was kind of probably the best time that I. But I used to go through phases though. I got into this phase where I started duct taping people and stuff. And see, people don't understand it only takes one wrap. Because then you can just do all of them because they can't get away from the one wrap. So I got into this thing where I would just start duct taping people to anywhere. I would used to duct tape our ADs to trees, to light posts, to anywhere at any time in front of anyone. Poor Teal'c. I used to duct tape Teal'c to her chairs all the time. Like just because she would always be like having to read her monitors and stuff. And sure enough, I would get one wrap on her, and she'd be like, Chris, my arms were down, like, Chris. She was wrapped up. So I kind of went through phases of stuff that I would do. I would penny lock people in their trailers, because like any door, there's always space between the door and the jam. So you can shove people. No little kids should be listening to this. You can shove pennies into the jams, and then you can't turn the knob, so you're stuck until somebody comes and pries those pennies out. So that one didn't last long because actors couldn't get the set because I had penny locked them in their trailers. So they put a stop to that one pretty quick. But yeah, it kind of always evolved.
How many people out there like the episode on Atlantis Midway? Oh no, I was expecting a cheer right enough because it's one of this man's episodes, but there you go. Would you say that particular fight scene with Jason is your hardest that you've ever had to properly train for? Because obviously Jason, he's no midget, so you obviously mentioned a little bit of Game of Thrones earlier, you like to be in it. I think there's a rematch due with Jason, to be honest. Who'd like to see that, guys?
Yeah, that was... Like I was saying earlier, fight scenes are like a dance. So once you know the counts of it, you don't really need to rehearse it, you just need to know the counts. So by the end, I really didn't rehearse a lot for the fight stuff. I would just, Dan Shea would make a CD that I would just watch and learn the counts. And then when we got to set, you can do it. When they brought me the tape of the fight scene, when Bam Bam was the stunt coordinator at Atlantis, when he brought me the CD of the fight scene that he had choreographed for Jason and I thought maybe I should practice this with Jason. It was, I think the entire fight scene was like 8 or 9 minutes, and the whole time is just straight action and movement. I mean, if you look at a boxing round is 3 minutes with a minute rest in between. So this was 8 minutes of twirling staffs and him and his sticks and all that stuff with no break. And so the original thing they wanted to do was shoot it all in one take. And so we actually did shoot it. We shot it in one take for 8 hours. So it was, that was the most demanding actual fight scene I ever did. And just Momoa in it is just incredible. I mean, the stuff that kid can do is just, it's mind-boggling. He's such a great athlete that, yeah, that was the toughest stunt I ever did. Stunt fight I ever did.
Just running short of time now, so I think this will be the last question from the audience. We've got one right up the back there. Oh, there he's there, gentleman with the red shirt.
This better be good. Your last. It better be good.
Hope it is.
Wait a minute. Better be good.
When you played the Ships of the Eye in Andromeda, Come on, it's a question everyone's probably wanted to know. Was
The
it
last question is an Andromeda question.
Everyone's got Stargate question. I'll be different. Was it difficult to get into the character for? I mean, play like a computer, essentially. Was it difficult to try and visualize or try and act for? Was it difficult?
Did you ever see me play Teal'c?
Well, yeah, but that was before you played Teal'c, wasn't it?
So there wasn't a whole lot of modulation between computer, Teal'c.
I don't know, I saw Teal'c get pretty emotional.
You know, it was funny doing that because a lot of, not a lot, but a significant portion of their crew had come over from Stargate. So, you know, and they had a fairly serious set. But when I came over, you know, it was kind of like, you know, I was golfing buddies with Sorbo. Obviously, you know, the connection with Lexa. So it was kind of like, once again, it kind of gave everyone an excuse just to fool around. And then one of the guy directing it was one of our old Stargate directors. So it was, you know what, the hardest thing to do is just like to be serious when they say action. You know, action on when the director said action on the Stargate set, it was kind of like the expiration date on milk. It's kind of just a suggestion. At first, when new directors would come, they would go, action, and nothing would happen. We were just playing around and joking. And then their action became, action, please? So it was kind of that way on Andromeda. Everyone kind of fell back into kind of Stargate stuff, so I was laughing and joking and having fun. So yeah, no, it wasn't difficult to do the computer thing, not at all.
I think before we go, I just wanted to ask you this really quickly. In Stargate, you beat up.
So what you meant was last question for Dale.
I did say last question from the audience. In Stargate, you beat up so many, you know, people that are big guys, really big guys. Jason. Yeah, and Batman Begins, not Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, you, like this is you and this is Joseph, right? You let a midget beat you up on screen. What the hell is wrong?
Actually, that's such a misconception that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is small. He's not.
Oh, it's the angle of the camera then.
No, yeah, because Joe is about 6'1", 6'2". He's not a little guy.
Skinny little thing.
Well, you know, when Chris Nolan decides something's going to go a certain way, there's not a whole lot of discussion about it, you know.
You got paid, so.
Yes, I did.
Ladies and gentlemen, that shows you how quick 45 minutes can go when you enjoy yourself. Please give it up for Mr. Yeah, it is, man.